Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Glad to see you all again this morning. Um, we have a fairly interesting, well, we always have an interesting, but we have an interesting agenda this morning and lots of information to hear about. So we're going to just go ahead and get started this morning. First of all, as always, like to thank our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, Karen Ziegler Consulting Services, Valley Telecom, Khajiit, and Triad. So I appreciate you guys' support. So getting that out of the way, do we have anybody new this morning that I haven't seen yet? Anybody new this morning? Oh, that's the wrong site. Let's get rid of that. Yes. Okay, that's better. Okay, again, anybody new joining us this morning? Okay, if not, oops, it's wrong. All righty, so let's get started this morning. First of all, I want to remind you again two things that I try to capture everything in the newsletter as I send out the chat and summary and all of that sort of stuff. But and so if you miss any of the links that are talked about in the chat or on the meeting this morning, you'll probably find those in my newsletter. In the meantime, if there's something that you heard that is in the chat, you can download the chat. If you go to chat and go to the top, there's three ellipses. You can click on that and download the chat immediately to your computer. And I know it's hard sometimes when people put a lot of links and information in the chat and then trying to keep up with it. So I just wanted to mention that. So moving on, actually, I'm going to change the agenda just quickly and want to introduce Sharika, who many of you, of course, know, but she's with Future Stars and she's received an On Semiconductor Foundation STEM grant. And so she's always doing great stuff. But Sharika, you want to talk about that so we don't miss you this time?
Sure. So my name is Sharika Jackson. I am an IT professional by day, and I run Future Stars Inc. And it's a STEM program that provides STEM programming in South Phoenix in the Maryville community. And On Semiconductor, who's been a sponsor of our program in various ways for the last 10 years, approximately, rewarded us a grant for our programming as well as our 10th annual Hands-on STEM Fair. So we host the largest STEM fair in South Phoenix every April, the fourth Saturday of April. So it will be on April 26th from 10 to 2. And I will be getting the information sent to Steve to see if any of you all would like to host vendor tables, which have hands-on interactive tables for kids to learn from. But with On Semiconductor over the years, they've sponsored T-shirts. They actually bring volunteers out and they engage with the students because it's their ERG groups, as well as making sure to support the programming that we do through the grant. So we're excited about it because, like I said, with it being our 10th year, we want it to be bigger, better. And so we are just looking for new, innovative, creative ideas to bring out to the community. For those of you that follow me on LinkedIn, you might have saw that I'm looking for a driverless company. Waymo is saying they're not available. They don't have resources to um, pay for STEM events, but I think it would be cool for the kids to learn about autonomy that from that in that aspect. So I know Cruise used to be in Arizona, but I'm not sure if there's any new small organizations that have popped up. But if you know of someone and they would be willing to come out into the community, because we do have over 300 attendees, we're our goal of 400 to 500 this year, and 90% are people of color and youth. So I will drop my info in the chat if you know anybody. I hope that covers it all, Steve.
Good. Well, thanks, Sharika. Any questions for Sharika? She always does great work and does great events. So if you can help her out in any way, please contact her.
Hey, Steve, this is PJ. I do have
Yeah,
something real
PJ.
quick. Just a
Sure.
thought here for Sharika. Sharika, maybe for autonomous vehicles or autonomous type training, take a look at just a recommendation. Maybe look at vehicles or companies such as John Deere or Case or tractor manufacturers, people that are building or even drone companies. They have autonomous drones. So when you have anything that has a form of autonomy that can be mapping a landscape and performing a function, it doesn't have to necessarily be Waymo or Tesla or a
Right,
vehicle on the
right.
road. But those might be other great ones because they usually have some financial resources available to them.
Okay, I'll take a look. Thank you. Appreciate
One
that.
other tip. This is Mark Sharika. Arizona Commerce Authority runs a group called, the name may have varied now a little, IAM, Institute for Autonomous Mobility. There's a woman there actually on the ATIC board, not particularly active, Marissa Walker heads the IAM. Steve or I can get you her email. We know her, so she would have all the companies involved in that vehicle autonomy as participants in her group.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. I will shoot you an
Actually,
email as a reminder, Mark.
I actually just offered to connect her in the chat. Sorry, I don't know if
Oh,
you saw that. I can definitely do that.
okay, that'd be great. Thanks. I'm just now seeing it.
Oh,
No
I see.
worries.
I
No,
see, Erin. Thank
I
you.
sent it like 2 seconds before Mark started talking. So
Great,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks. Any other suggestions or thoughts for Sharika before we move on? Okay. Well, if not, let's jump in. Aaron, if you want to kind of give us the latest of what's happening with the broadband office. And then later, and then afterwards, we're going to do part 5. Many of you who have been on the call regularly know that we've been doing a session on what we know, what we think we know, and what we don't know about broadband and digital inclusion policy changes in Washington, which change from day to day and hour to hour. And Brenna, who is Brenna Lesser, who is the Tech Policy Council for Common Sense, keeps up on that. She did a presentation last week and give us another update since things changed a lot since last week. So we'll be getting into that in just a couple of minutes. But with that, Aaron, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I just realized that my name didn't update too many instances of Zoom. So I do apologize for that. I will do that shortly. But my name is Erin Larandos, and I am the Digital Equity Program Manager in the State Broadband Office, which is housed in ACA. And on the BEAD side of things, folks are probably aware that the round 1 application window is open, which is why I'm the only one who comes right now, because the rest of the team is on radio silence during the application window. The application window has been extended. Originally, the due date was next week, and it has been extended by 30 days. So the deadline is now March 7th. The subsequent dates and all of the deadlines and all of that will be updated on the website probably within the next couple of days, up to a week. Just takes a little bit of time to get the website updated, of course. But I wanted to let folks know that we did decide to extend that first round of applications to a full 2 months. Other than that, I don't have a lot to update. I'm sure that folks have been following the news, so everything is a little bit unsure right now, just in general. And I won't go into detail there because, of course, we have other experts to talk about that. But all of that to say, there may be, a little bit of a pause or a little bit of a delay in the DE program as a result, just because of that news breaking. We might hold off for a day or two longer than we expected to moving into those next steps. But everything that is public knowledge is on the haven't seen that yet.
We lost you, Erin, or I did.
Can other people hear me?
We're not hearing you.
Me too. We all did, I think, Steve.
Her audio just went really, really faint, like the lowest volume you could possibly have.
Okay.
Now it's gone.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and move on, and then maybe Erin will be back with us. That's that damn broadband.
She got a
Okay.
gremlin in her machine.
Really. Okay, so let's move on. Nicole, I don't believe you're online today, are you? All right. Well, let's move on to, as I mentioned, that Brenna is here with us again this morning. And Brenna, you want to kind of give us the latest lay of the land and what's happening in Washington?
Yes, I
For the
will.
best
I
that we
will.
know.
Yeah, I will do my best. For those who don't know me, as Steve said, Brenna Leeser, Tech Policy Counsel with Common Sense Media. So I'm kind of switching up the format to start with what we don't know, since that seems to be the biggest bucket. As Aaron was talking about the federal funding freeze, just to give a short play-by-play. Essentially, the Trump administration, OMB, released a memo saying that they were freezing federal aid and grants. This obviously sowed chaos and confusion, people not knowing which programs it impacted. Then they released a clarification saying which programs it would not impact, which essentially just caused more confusion. They got sued and paused the program, and then shortly thereafter rescinded the memo. And then the administration's press secretary said that even though the memo was rescinded, that the policy would still be in effect. So essentially, nobody knows what's going on with this. My best guess is that now the policy targeting IIJ like programs, DEIA, all of that is still intended to be implemented, but maybe it is not so cut and dry, which makes it arguably more difficult to know which programs are going to be impacted, because it seems to be up to the administration's and the President Trump's discretion on what falls in this and what doesn't. So who knows? My best guess would be that maybe programs like USF wouldn't be impacted by a pause because it's not funded by discretionary funding, because it's funded by the contributions. But again, who knows? But it seems to be a general consensus that programs like BEAD and especially the Digital Equity Act, given the title, would probably be impacted at some point by this. But there's been many states and attorneys general that have sued the Trump administration because saying that they don't have the authority to do this, because obviously Congress has the power of the purse. So the administration doesn't have the ability to subvert the law that is passed by Congress. So who knows what this will end up coming to. Hopefully we'll be able to give another update in the next few weeks. But that's my best guess for now. Going to what we think we know, sort of. The Senate Commerce Committee yesterday held the Secretary of Commerce confirmation hearing for the nominee Lutnick, and he was primarily asked a lot about supply chain security, implementing tariffs. BEAD came up a lot in the hearing, specifically from Republicans, largely saying that BEAD was, hadn't connected anyone yet and it was going too slow. The use of non-deployment funds was alluded to quite a few times by Senator Thune, saying that like asking the nominee, can you guarantee that, all funds under BEAD will be used for infrastructure? And they seem to agree on that. So that does create, some concern with some states that have quite large buckets of non-deployment funds that they were planning to use for, devices, getting people connected, digital skills, things like that. So again, not exactly sure how that will play out. But for considering the memo was rescinded during his hearing, his answers were, in my personal professional opinion, relatively non-committal. It's hard to know, how much he does actually know, what his actual opinions are and what he actually does not know. When asked about how he would, if certain programs like BEAD would be impacted by the pause, he said he would, I need to get confirmed and then look at the documents. I can't say right now. Whether that's true, I have no idea, but he didn't seem to, confirm or deny the impact to any specific program. And in terms of what we know, small bucket, but FCC Chair Carr had acted on, or I'm trying to think of the word, essentially had acted on the bulk billing issue that was up last Congress, saying that essentially that landlords and those who control like multiple dwelling units can enforce bulk billing on their residents. And then lastly, Senator Cruz and several other senators had released guidance or a memo saying that they plan to use the Congressional Review Act on FCC off-campus, like home hotspots for students and the bus Wi-Fi orders. So we have to wait and see what that turns out to be, but it looks like those programs are likely to get a good bit of criticism or scrutiny. So not the most uplifting update, but that's kind of the current state of play from my perspective. If anyone has any specific questions, I can try to answer. I'd be happy to. But
Brenna, have you heard anything more about the USF committee that was meeting or is meeting or not meeting, or
we have not heard pretty much anything on USF as of late. My best guess would be that Democrats might be slow to do anything on USF because if they know that like the program would be changed in ways that they wouldn't want it to be changed, they might not want to make any changes at all. So obviously the contribution and distribution issue, the financial viability of the program, I think is kind of under question, but Senator Cruz has said that he would like USF to be funded by appropriations, which is essentially just a way to nix the program entirely, because we all know how yearly appropriations go, or at least, decimate the funding that's available for it. There's been conversations around how to widen the contribution base by, implementing a fee that's paid by like internet platforms. So like the companies that sit on top of the internet, like social media, Netflix, those types of things. But again, kind of up in the air. So not sure. That's something that we're hoping that will have some movement, even just to know if they are moving forward with it or not, kind of what the status of it is, but I haven't heard anything of late. But hopefully we'll connect with Senator Lujan's office and kind of see what they're thinking.
What's the status of the court case?
I think they're supposed to rule on the constitutionality of USF sometime this summer, which I would assume they would potentially wait until that, that answer is available. If they wanted to, Congress could, explicitly say they could pass an update to USF saying that the FCC and USAC explicitly has the authority to collect funding for the program. But again, if they don't choose to like do anything to the program, make any changes, they might not do anything until they have to. So if the Supreme Court rules that the program's unconstitutional, then they might be forced into doing something to protect like programs like E-rate.
Okay, thanks, Brenna. Any questions or comments for Brenna before we move on?
Brenda Mark Goldstein, hi. I understood that a policy advisor to Senator Cruz was being tapped to fill Brendan Carr's commissioner seat. Is that true? And then what is the process and timeline for a confirmation there?
So I think the person you might be thinking of, there were a couple names that were brought up. The latest and greatest that I've heard is um Olivia Trusty is being
Right.
tapped to fill the seat by ex-chair Rosenworcel. So I haven't heard anything past that of like when she will be, you know, added to the FCC or like formally confirmed. And then as well, I don't know if she was as close with, I'm trying to remember. I don't think she was Senator Cruz's aide.
Okay.
I think she was potentially Wicker. But I don't know as much background about her, but I know some of my colleagues at Common Sense have said that like they were like pleasantly surprised with her name being floated. They think she's a good pick and has a lot of experience in telecom. So um, hopefully that would be fine. At least for like the digital equity community writ large. But the other name is Ariel Roth, she was a Cruise Commerce staffer. And she's being was nominated to run NTIA, which is a little bit more concerning,
Right.
considering her likely opinions on programs like the Digital Equity Act. Obviously said Senator Cruz a few months ago had released that letter saying that it was unconstitutional and like the program was essentially racist because it, allowed the targeting for like racial and ethnic minorities as one of the covered populations. So in all likelihood, she probably wrote the letter. So that's why it's a bit concerning that she seems to be kind of in the weeds to that level. So to be determined, but I'm not sure if her confirmation has been scheduled or anything as well. I assume they're going like top down. So starting with the
And are those both Senate confirmations that are needed for FCC Commissioner and NTIA? I assume Assistant Director or whatever that is. Are those Senate confirmations?
I believe the NTIA is. I honestly don't remember if
Okay.
the FCC. I can double check and let you know.
No, no problem. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
Brenna, is there more than one commissioner that's going to be replaced on the FCC?
At some point, I believe so because I think Commissioner Starks had announced that he was going to leave at some point in the next few months. But I think the Olivia Trusty has been the only name floated for the current like vacancy. But I'm not sure when that would happen.
I thought I saw somewhere, if my memory serves me correctly, that there was 4 positions that may be replaced at some point. But no,
Yeah.
again, who knows?
Over the course of the administration, maybe. I'm not sure when everyone's like times are up and if that's what they're referring to, but I'm not sure. I could look into that as well. Should be easy to find.
Okay.
Yep.
But it would maintain a split of 3 Republican and 2 Democrats, Steve, and no matter, if a Democrat leaves, a Democrat will replace them, I believe. That balance.
Yes. Yeah.
That balance will be maintained of 3 to 2.
Is that required, Mark?
I think so.
That's my understanding as well. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Brenna before we move on? Thanks, Brenna. Appreciate you being here again and keeping us up to date and the latest and greatest.
No problem. Yeah, happy to help.
or maybe not greatest, but latest.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so while we're kind of talking about this stuff, Mala, you want to share any of your thoughts? I'm sure you have a lot of feelings about all this stuff. Are you here today, Mala? I guess she's not here. Okay, so let's move on. We have several things several kind of presentations this morning. First is some of those of you who've been here before have heard a little bit about Connor Osgood and the work he's doing in Yuma, but he's going to give us a more detailed overview. He is the Ag Tech Program Manager with the University of Arizona's Yuma Center for Excellence in Desert Agriculture. And I got to tell you, I've been hearing amazing things about what they're doing down there. So with that, Connor, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to you to give us kind of real overview of what you're doing.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, happy to share on the work that we're doing, and thank you for the opportunity to give my presentation here. Let me just figure out. I'm more of a Teams guy, so I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen here. Let's see. Let me know if you can see my presentation here. Select window. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
All right, so you can see the PowerPoint there?
Well, you started screen sharing. There you go.
Okay, I've got like 3 monitors here, so that's gotta pick one of them. Okay, we're good?
Yep.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. All right, yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Steve. Yes, I'm Connor Osgood. I'm as mentioned, I'm the Ag Tech Program Manager for YCETA. We like to use the acronym because Yuma Center for Excellence in Desert Agriculture is quite a mouthful. And we're a part of the University of Arizona here in Yuma, Arizona. So I'll explain a little bit more about our organization as a whole and what we do shortly here, and just a little bit of brief background on myself. I'm an ag guy, for most of my career. That's gone into recently has gone into broadband and the technology side of things. So I'm going to keep my presentation a little bit high level and just kind of explain the applications of technology in agriculture and why they require wireless broadband, especially in our area, which is a rural agricultural community. So with that, I'll say I've been on the job, so to speak, since early November, and it's been a pretty interesting experience for me, just jumping into the pool with both feet, learning about broadband and learning about all the different technologies that are associated with it. Before that, I was driving tractors, helping manage a research farm for about 5 years. So it's been a big transition for me, and it's been a pleasant one though, for sure. Getting to learn a lot of new things, and especially through meetings like this, just kind of opening up my eyes to a lot of different things that are going on. So with that, why are we talking about agriculture and Arizona? A lot of people don't associate Arizona with being an agricultural state. But we do have a roughly $23 billion agricultural economy here in the state. So it is an important part of our economy. And anybody who grew up with a public education in this state like I did, you probably learned about Arizona's 5 Cs. Three of those being, agricultural products: citrus, cattle, and cotton. And there's really a lot more agricultural products that we produce than just those three. And a lot of this stuff that we grow gets exported to other countries. So because of how much sunlight and we get down here in Yuma, we get something like 350 days of full sunlight, zero clouds or something to that effect every year. So we get year-round sunshine. Or as we know, our winters are mild, and because we have irrigation here, because we have irrigation down here, we can pretty much grow year round. So that enables us multiple cropping cycles, unlike in other parts of the country where you plant once and then you grow over the summer, and then the winter comes and you wait till spring. So Yuma in particular, we are known as the winter lettuce capital of the world. We produce pretty much 90% of all the lettuce, at least for one half the year. But we grow a lot of other things like melons, cotton, durum wheat, which is used for pasta. A lot of the wheat that gets grown here and just across the border in northern Mexico gets exported for making pasta in places as far away as Italy. We also grow medjool dates. A friend of mine in Tokyo, Japan, actually bought a carton of dates over there that said, grown in Yuma, Arizona. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But Yuma in particular, most people know it as the place that you drive through when you're going to San Diego and you stop for gas and maybe go to Subway. But there's really an intense economy down here. $4 billion a year we've calculated in a couple different ways. So there's a lot of agricultural activity going on down here, and it's an important contributor to the state's overall GDP. So a little bit about the university. The university does have a footprint down here. We offer 20 degrees in mostly industry-related stuff for the local community, ag engineering, technology, and that kind of thing. There's a couple of different organizations affiliated with the university. We've got the university itself. We've got the University Ag Center, which is the part of the experimental station system. We've got cooperative extension. And then, of course, we've got YCETA, which what we are is a public-private research, a P3, a public-private partnership. And we get 0% funding through the university. So all of the funding that we have is through our board of investors, our board of directors, which are our key stakeholders here locally. So that translates into local farmers and production companies, chemical companies. And so we are tasked with basically trying to solve big challenges that immediately face our local, industry here. So we want to come up with solutions, solutions to some of the biggest challenges here in Yuma as it relates to desert agriculture. And just if you view our website here, which is desertagsolutions.org, you can see that we've done a couple of different major projects, including a COVID testing lab, a lot of a 6-year-long project with increasing irrigation efficiency. We're working on some soil health stuff, plant disease management, ag technology, food safety. So we're going after the big things, basically, rather than research for research sake. Nothing wrong with that, but we're definitely an applied research group that is directly.
Did we lose you? Connor, I think we lost you.
I think we did, Steve. He doesn't seem to be in the room anymore.
Yep. Well, let's go on with some things, and hopefully he will rejoin us here shortly. So a couple of things. Sharika, I was just sending you a note that Caterpillar has a major operation both here in Tucson and down in southern Arizona. And Melissa Hall, Melissa Hall is Brian Carter's project manager, and her husband works for Caterpillar, and he's attended a number of our meetings. They are very engaged in autonomous vehicle development, and so I'll try and put you in touch with them also. So while we're waiting to see if Connor will rejoin us, Mala, I see that you are here now. Would you want to kind of give us what your latest thoughts might be?
Sorry for being late. There's so much happening. I know I don't know where to begin, but I think the first thing is about the hotspot lending, which Senator Cruz is putting a kibosh into. And it's mainly because when E-rate was first conceived, it was thought of to be a program within the schools and libraries. And this, the hotspot lending takes it outside the school premise or the library premise. The counter argument to that is that where is learning happening now? Especially post pandemic, the learning is happening at home. A lot of kids are doing homeschooling. A lot of kids need to work in partnership with other children, with other schools, and they do need the access at home. The second objection from him was also because it's going to be unsupervised, and he does not his views on supervised and unsupervised kids access to the internet. So that's a huge issue that we're dealing with. Of course, Shelby and others have put in their own views about this to them, and let's see what happens. Right now, from day to day, we don't know what's going to happen. Are we going to get funded? Are we not getting funded? What's happening is a huge big thing. So that's what I'm waiting to hear back on. In the meanwhile, there's lots going on with E-rate itself and the application process. Our state master contracts are in place, and we will have them out by tomorrow. That's the end of the week is when they're going to sign the master contract. So anyone who needs to use the state master contracts, anyone who is not doing their own RFPs for telecommunication can use the state master contracts, and they are available both for category 1, that is the internet connections, and they're available for category 2 through the Mojave Educational Consortium. Both are master contracts, and both can be used by schools and libraries, and of course by anyone else who wants to use them. I don't know what I missed. I don't know what else was discussed. So I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions for Mara? Going once, going twice. Okay. So while we're talking about libraries, when we talk about education, Michael Kendall is joining us today. He is their new broadband project manager. And so, Michael, you want to kind of give us an update what's happening with Department of Ed?
Yeah, certainly. Good morning, everyone. Don't have a lot to update this week. We did have some activity with a couple of applications. We signed off for funding approval for 2 schools, for Winslow and Agua Fria, and so some good activity there. Also, we're working to set up a meeting with Mala and the folks at the Navajo Library District. They've reached out to us with some questions, some process questions, and they have a project that is kind of on hold, and we're going to try to assist them. So we're working to schedule that meeting now. Otherwise, I don't have a lot for updates for the team on with respect to broadband, E-rate, and the rest. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Glad to have you joining us and getting some updates from Department of Ed. So, any questions for Michael? If not, let's move to PJ Way. PJ, want to introduce yourself? And PJ's doing a lot of work. We had a good conversation about AI, and he's very engaged in a number of AI initiatives. And so, PJ, want to kind of give us an update?
Absolutely. Good morning, Steve. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody's conversations here today. Always great topics and good information to hear what's happening around the state. Connor, good. I'm glad to see you're back. I was actually looking at my phone. I'm like, I'm going to try and text and let him know he's dropped.
Yeah, no, apologies, everybody. Technical difficulties here. Something with my multi-monitor display, and you know how it goes. So sorry about that.
Nobody ever has technical difficulties, Connor.
Right. That just, yeah, of course not.
Now, Connor, if you only knew somebody that's trying to solve those technical difficulties in the Yuma area, right?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. No, and I want to say thank you also. Thanks, Connor. And I don't know, Steve, do you want to come back to Connor or do you want Connor to
Yeah,
go?
let's go back to Connor and then we'll come back to you, PJ.
That's perfect. That seems
Okay.
fair to me. All right, thanks,
Perfect.
Connor.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. Once again, sorry everybody for that interruption. Let me now that I'm working off of one machine, one monitor here, let me see if I can figure out how to share again. All right. Can we see the presentation?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, moving along. So, as I was, I think, in the middle of mentioning YCETA, yeah, we're a really unique organization that basically we're collaborating. Our job is to collaborate between the university and local industry here in Yuma, Arizona, to help increase the uh, economic productivity of farming down here, which, as I mentioned previously, is a really big deal down here. We grow a lot of lettuce, we grow a lot of broccoli and cauliflower, melons, all sorts of stuff down here. So we're working on just a small number of very large, high impact problems that our farmers, our growers, our local industry here, they directly want solved. So the problems that we work on are kind of guided by input from local industry. So impact is kind of the name of the game for us. We want to do a few things, and we want to do the things that have the biggest impact on our industry. So this is just a kind of a drone shot of one of our big successes as of late. This was actually my first day on the job. Was this conference that we had, which was the Desert Difference, a showcase of ag tech opportunities for growing in the desert. It's a conference that we've been doing annually for a couple of years now, where technology vendors from ag technology vendors and manufacturers from around the country can come here, show off their equipment in action to local farmers and other demonstrators and that kind of thing. We always have a really good, really large turnout with this event. So it provides a great opportunity for networking and business development here locally. And you can see this is from back in November, some of the different types of machines that are being demonstrated to the local groups here. And so agriculture is basically undergoing another revolution right now, which is we're seeing the introduction of robotic, autonomous tractors, robotic equipment, drones, AI. I mean, just like every other aspect of life, AI is kind of getting coming into the fold basically to automate some of the mundane stuff, automate some of the things that require a lot of manual input, and agriculture is certainly one of those things. Here in vegetable country, it requires a lot of manual labor to grow these crops, a lot, and the cost of that labor is not going down anytime soon. It's about $20 an hour for H2A labor here, and that we use H2A labor for everything from weeding the fields to thinning the plants, thinning the crop after they've been seeded. So we thin them down to the correct density. So there's just a lot of manual labor. You see a lot of buses full of these labor crews going down up and down the streets all day. And so that has become a really big economic burden for the farmers here. The other reason and so that creates the desire for automation and mechanization of some of these tasks. The other thing too is that there's a lot more ever increasing, emphasis on resource use consciousness. We want to basically be able to grow more crop using less water, or using the water that we have that we are using, using it more efficiently, using the fertilizer more efficiently, trying to reduce our pesticide usage, that kind of thing. So there's a number of ways that there's a number of opportunities for technology to help improve productivity in agriculture. But what does that have to do with broadband? Well, at the moment, the way that things have been done is that we've got a lot of these things like these robot weeders, for example, in the previous slide. A lot of them have onboard computers that are using AI to take pictures of the ground as the tractor drives through the field, and it'll identify a weed versus and separate that from the lettuce, and it actually can actuate a little sprayer or some other implement to kill the weed and not kill the lettuce plant. And so for the moment, those implements, those pieces of machinery have onboard computers, the GPU, deck of GPUs and that kind of thing that can do all those calculations and run the AI models. But in the future, we anticipate to see farmers having essentially swarms of these machines, whether they're drones or robotic weeders, automated harvesters. We anticipate to see swarms of these machines operating in the field in sync with one another. And so that'll require these machines to talk to each other. And that'll, of course, require wireless connectivity, because we can't hook an Ethernet cable up to everything and expect that not to get tangled up. So realistically, we're going to need to have the ability to upload large amounts of data to the cloud or an edge server, so that as these AI models get more and more advanced and require more and more data and processing power, that can be done in real time. Another technology that we anticipate seeing a lot more of is these precision analytics, where using advanced drone or satellite imagery, growers and crop advisors, which is a big part of our industry out here, are consultants, crop consultants. They can essentially be out in the field with an iPad looking at a map of the field that they're standing in, and in real time they can get recommendations on, say, fertilizer use or irrigation based on sensor information, and the predictive analytics that'll be performed by the AI model, so that they can make recommendations that are guided by the AI and machine learning, that they can do that in real time. So rather than having to collect the data in the field, where we currently have no or limited connection to the internet, and then taking that back to the office, processing the data, and then days later coming back and saying, oh, you should apply this much fertilizer or what have you. We want these guys to be able to make these recommendations, make decisions in the field using the data that was just collected. Because the one thing about the agricultural system down here is that the machine does not stop. I mean, the agriculture production system down here is just constantly going. They do not miss a beat. And so things, whether it's technology, data analysis technology, or actual physical machines, things will just have to work always and at any time, and they're going to need to work right now. And if they break, these companies that make this equipment are going to need to come down here and be able to fix it right away. So I've already talked a little bit about this, but just kind of as a classic example of ag tech use down here in the Yuma area is the lettuce thinning. Here is lettuce thinning and weeding. So here's an example of what some of those machines would look like. And as you can see, hopefully in that top right picture, those little dark spots on the ground, that is where the computer has gone through and basically decided to spray every one out of or spray a number of plants of lettuce plants with an herbicide, so that it kills those plants, and then it leaves one lettuce plant every 1 foot. So we intentionally overseed the lettuce, and we kill most of them, and then we save one for every foot, so that we get guaranteed a full field of plants at a certain planting density, and that maintains profitability. But again, a lot of this has been traditionally done. Well, it has been traditionally done by hand labor crews using hose. So you usually get about a crew of 15 to 30 workers out there getting paid $20 an hour. And the cost aside, there's issues with labor availability too. And COVID really brought that out, where even if you had the money to pay for these work crews, it's up to them to decide whether they want to come to your farm or not. So there were plenty of instances where we just couldn't get labor. So there's the labor cost and availability issues, in addition to, of course, everybody wants to use less pesticide and less of everything. So in these kind of systems, rather than just spraying the whole field for weeds, we're using AI systems to identify just the weed itself and spray only the weed instead of blanketing the entire field with herbicide. So another example of applications for ag tech, wireless ag tech, is installing these wide field sensor networks across the growers' fields so that we don't have to drive out to these rural, remote areas every day and go check ourselves if how dry the soil is or how wet the soil is. There's a number of different of instruments that can measure the amount of water in the soil, and so the idea is to create these widespread networks with lots of little sensors that are all plugged in wirelessly to the cloud, and a farmer can basically view that information, view the status of their field at any given point in time, from their iPad or their computer in their office or at home or something like that. There's just a little funny cartoon about the reality of why we need everything to be wireless. So how are we going to get there? How are we going to make this work? So how are we going to get wireless connectivity to the rural area of the rural areas that a lot of these farms exist in? Because Yuma is, outside of the city itself, Yuma is quite a rural area with very limited access to broadband internet. I believe the statistic that I've heard is that at least until recently, up to 45% of people here locally in the county did not have access to high-speed broadband internet. That's one figure that I've heard kicked around. So in 2021, the city was awarded, and PJ, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it was awarded $30 million in funding through the American Relief Project Act, ARPA funds for COVID-19, to build a middle mile fiber optic network that runs through pretty much all the inhabited areas of Yuma County. And it's been a really great project for the county as a whole, because we've now got Allo Fiber from Nebraska that has built the majority of this middle mile network, which is to serve residential and business addresses here across the valley. And so they're bringing high-speed internet where we previously had kind of older technologies supplying internet to everybody's houses. So now we're upgrading everybody. We're giving all the residents and businesses the ability to upgrade to much faster connections thanks to Allo, and that's created a lot of jobs locally. I know that my neighborhood, recently we had the excavation crews going through there and digging up, and I know a lot of people have become employed by Allo Fiber. So this has been a really great project to kind of advance the broadband infrastructure of Yuma. And so part of that is that working off of an NSF grant, YCETA and the county and a couple of other key partners are working on building a wireless network that'll be devoted just for agricultural use. And this is just a kind of a conceptual idea of what that would look like. We're still working on the placement of the towers, these wireless towers, but the idea is that we want to cover all the agricultural area in Yuma with wireless access to wireless broadband and other wireless technologies. And that way that'll enable all this autonomous farming and access to the cloud for data analytics and so forth. So we're going to place about 27 of these towers throughout the irrigated agricultural area of Yuma, and each one of these towers are going to connect directly to that middle mile fiber optic backbone directly with its own fiber optic link, so that it can have a high bandwidth to each tower. And of course, these fiber optic cables have multiple strands of fiber in them. So on each tower, we can support numerous different transmission devices. So everything from low frequency radios to do things like just routinely collect small amounts of data to from sensors in the field to really high frequency Wi-Fi kind of stuff and everything in between. So what we're doing is we're designing this system of towers to a concept, not a specific technology, and we anticipate that once these towers are built, we're going to have the whole alphabet soup, the whole zoo of broadband and wireless technologies on there, everything from simple radio systems to hopefully long distance Wi-Fi and everything in between. We've got yeah, because a number of these different ag technologies that that have already been in development for years now, a lot of them use different systems. Some of them run off of LTE, some of them run off of satellite guidance, some of them just use LoRaWAN, low frequency radio type stuff. So we want to be able to accommodate all of those technologies, and so having the multi-strand fiber optic cable on each one of these transmission towers will enable that without competing for bandwidth. So another part of this is here at the University Ag Center Experiment Station. Part of the grant is part of the NSF grant is that we've got the funds to build, and we have built a wireless testbed system for novel ag technologies. We've created a wireless network here that covers the research farm. This isn't the full picture of the research farm. It just shows you where the nodes and the transmission towers are. But it currently it provides Wi-Fi and CBRS across the entire research farm. And so part of my job is to attract innovative ag tech companies to really want to come to Yuma, because currently they're either operating out of the Midwest or they're operating out of Salinas, California, and neither of those places have the climate that Yuma has. We have an extremely harsh climate here, and yet we manage to be extremely productive agriculturally. And so there's this kind of failure to recognize that on behalf of some of the ag tech companies here, where not here, but some of the ag tech companies, when they come here, is that they've fine-tuned their machines to work in these other places where the weather's a little fairer, the ground isn't as clumpy and all these things. And then when they get here, they realize that it's a totally different set of rules growing in the extreme desert here. So we want to offer them a space, an innovation hub, so to speak, where they can come and test their equipment in real world desert conditions, because the idea is that if your technology can survive Yuma agriculture, it can probably survive anywhere. And we really anticipate Yuma becoming part of the so-called Silicon Valley of ag technology, is at least what we hope. So we're really working hard to attract a lot of these businesses to Yuma, to expand their operations to Yuma, to perhaps consider headquartering here. Just in general, there's a huge demand for ag technology throughout the industry here. A lot of these farmers have already gone and purchased drones and and have been paying for some of these services like the automated thinning and weeding. And so farmers, are always ahead of the curve. I mean, they're always innovators, they're creative people, and they're always looking for new solutions. So they've been well on their way doing investigations into ag tech themselves. And the one thing that we hear pretty much ubiquitously is that, for this stuff to really work for us as an industry, we need wireless connectivity. And so that's kind of the main impetus behind building this network of towers here to deliver wireless broadband to those growers that are already experimenting with technology and wanting to get into it and wanting to have everything be connected and remotely accessible. So the other thing too is that we're hoping that with the introduction of all this technology and the new wireless broadband system, we're going to need an increasingly sophisticated, we're going to need a workforce with, increasingly sophisticated skill set to be able to operate these systems, to be able to fix things when they break, to troubleshoot things. Because as I mentioned before, the agricultural machine here does not stop. I mean, you've got, if something breaks down, you as the manufacturer, your service guy has like 24 hours to get it working again. Otherwise, the farmer's just going to keep on going. So we anticipate that there's going to be a lot of job creation, especially job creation and upskilling, as a result of more and more of these technologies coming here to the valley. So with that, I'm going to conclude my presentation with that. Like I said, I just wanted to keep it kind of high level. One thing that I could use some help from the public on, or from this group on, is understanding a little bit more about different types of transmission technologies that could be placed on these towers. We've looked at a number of different things like LTE and again Wi-Fi and LoRaWAN and the whole alphabet soup. But this is an area that I really have been kind of researching more into, is what are some of these upcoming long range transmission devices that we can hopefully carry a high amount of bandwidth at low latency across large distances with. So I would love to hear if anybody has anything novel or some technology that they know of that could eventually be put on one of our towers or all the towers to help increase the spread of broadband across our rural agricultural area. So if anybody has any comments or suggestions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is there on the slide, and I encourage you to visit our website as well, which is desertagsolutions.org, and you can learn a little bit more about some of the projects that we do here at YCETA. So with that, I thank you all.
Thank you, Connor. Awesome stuff.
All right, and sorry again for the technical troubles earlier.
Hey, it happens. We all know that.
Right, appreciate it.
So anybody want to jump in quickly with Connor and share your thoughts? Okay.
Connor, this is Bill DiAugustino with the Wireless Infrastructure Association. Have you started to evaluate the private networking aspects around CBRS?
So I know that we're in talks with a number of different contractors for who's going to operate the network, the wider network. Let me back up. There's really two projects here. We've got the wireless test bed at the farm, right, and then we've got this whole valley-wide project with the multiple towers that'll cover the whole county. So our end of the deal, and along with the county and a couple of other partners, is that we're building the towers themselves, and then once the towers are built and routed up with the fiber optic, the technologies that go on that tower will be operated by a network. Whoever's manufacturing and wants to put their radios on that tower, they're going to be responsible for operating it. So we don't want them to hand us a box of radios and say, hey, go have fun. But we are in talks with a number of different network operators, so to speak, and exploring different technologies.
Okay, I have something we can talk about offline, a company I can connect you with
Perfect.
on that.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Connor. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. This is Gordon Fuller, Tucson. We have gifts for you, good sir. And we're going to ask Steve if he'd be so kind as to put your slide back up again. Steve's slide overlaid yours, and we didn't get a chance to capture it.
Let me see if I can share that again. Sure. Which slide did you want to see? The
one with your contact information on it.
Sure thing. Can you see it now?
Me? No, not at all.
Okay.
Well, I can, so I don't know if others can or not. But
forgive me, it was a joke. I'm a blind guy, you see. So.
Oh. Forgot. Good point.
Okay, fair enough.
Some of us got it, Gordon.
Fair enough.
little slow on the uptake, Gordon.
walked right into my sight gag. Yep.
So Connor, we're going to move on here. So PJ, hopefully we can delay your update to maybe next week or so, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind at all. And honestly, Connor did a fantastic job talking about IoT stuff and where when it talks about AI, where it fits, how it fits. And that's just, I mean, Connor, you did a great job. You demonstrated also the depth of what AI provides. The conversations that I was hoping to have would also be able to talk a little bit about, or at least planting bugs in people's ear with where does AI fit inside of our government agencies, people with their proper use cases? Are we training one another? Are we doing the right things? So yeah, I look forward to the conversation. Happy to do that next time. And if I could real quick add for Connor to Bill and others, just to help, if you don't mind, Connor, I'll just share a little bit about um, so the connectivity piece. The towers are under construction by the county. The county is awarded a contract to EX Squared, who is going to be doing the installation for the towers. Once those towers are erected, I'm working on a relationship right now. So it's a bi-directional relationship with the university. So if the county has kind of that P3 partnership that Connor mentioned, so that our agricultural community can leverage the technology, put all of their data back to the university for research purposes, and the county can then grab the materials and data that it requires for federal agency reporting back to the federal agencies, giving anonymity to the farmers and the community and what's actually happening. We just know we're getting trusted data from a trusted source, and we can provide that information back to the powers that be when they're asking for reports.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, Connor, while I realize this is a totally different industry, but Caterpillar actually, they have an office, an RD here in Tucson, but they also have a autonomous vehicle test bed in Green Valley. And so I'm sure they have to deal with a lot of these same issues, even though it's related to mining versus agriculture. But if you're interested in talking to them, actually one of their people had been participating in our meetings. His wife is a project manager with Brian Carter over at the U of A. If you think you might have an interest in that, I'd be glad to put you in touch with him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. I think that there's a lot more similarity between those kind of technologies and agriculture than there aren't. There's a lot of overlap between with what we're doing. We as an agriculture technology, like you said, mining technology. I've seen some of the videos of the wireless, or driverless dump trucks and things like that. Of course, defense and military and that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot of overlap with these technologies across these different industries. So yeah, I'd love to learn more about that for sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well,
Hey, Connor,
put his contact information for you.
Please,
yeah,
thank you, Steve.
Very quickly, Connor, I just sent you an email. I don't know how much you guys are interacting with the ASU teams, but we have a kind of small army of people working on different types of technologies that apply to that. So just reply to my email. Maybe we can have an initial conversation in which you can present basically the same deck of slides and then talk to different people that are working in that area here.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I'll absolutely will. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out.
And Connor, Gordon Fuller again, Tucson. I just wanted to say I put in the chat a link to SimTable, which is a simulation sand table system we have that works with autonomous camera platforms on ridgelines in 6 western states. And why don't you check that out?
I'll check it out. Thank you.
So a couple of other quick things. Brian Daly, are you still online? So you're still connected. Are you there? And Mark, are you still online?
Yes, sorry. Had to get off mute. Yes, I'm here.
So Brian, do you have any thoughts about, the work that they're doing? And
yeah, actually, I've already emailed Connor. Want to sync up with him. So definitely.
Okay. And Mark, are you still online?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark, I don't know if you want to share, not today, but if you want to share with Connor the presentation you've done recently on different technologies and so forth.
My most recent was focused on satellite. Is that what you're talking about that I did for
yes
in December?
Yes.
I can quickly get a link to that in the chat if you give me a moment.
Okay.
Steve, if I could jump in real quick. Hey, Connor,
Sure, go ahead, PJ.
Connor, just to help you out, if you don't mind, there are probably some specs for people that may be interested in what the radio technology can serve and all the interest that may be out there. There are going to be some specs that have to be identified because performance, as Connor pointed out, when you're doing laser weeding, there can't be delays in the equipment. There can't be delays in the technology. The speed has to be very, very versatile, withstanding high temperatures, lots of weather. So whatever it looks like, just have that in mind that this is not a one size fits all radio solution. This is indeed a very specific ag industry requirement. And the focus for the grant that's helping fund this is on, as Connor pointed out, the amount of crop we can produce with the same amount of water. We're trying to look at water conservation as one of their primary efforts, but there are a ton of other fits, as Connor points out, when it comes down to autonomous tractors, drones. But the decisions have to be, some of these tractors, and correct me if I'm wrong, Connor, I've seen one just recently, it's now traveling at about 5 miles an hour to do its process.
Yeah.
If something's moving at the speed of 5 miles an hour, it's having to make decisions quickly. So if radios are not capable, make sure you're vetting it out before you go putting a presentation together of what is possible with your equipment. Just throwing it out there to save you a bunch of influx, Connor, because I can tell you I've had hundreds of emails from different people from around the world with technology that just it's not going to work. I mean, so
yeah.
Probably, Connor, if it's possible, anybody can try and also reach out to me. I can try and help with that, Connor, not to dump any workload on you, but if I can help you in any way with the radio technology, because in the end, the infrastructure is going to be fiber connected up to the radio. The challenge is going to be last mile. And the county's not interested in owning the last mile equipment or the radios. And neither are the ag industry leaders. That's where the opportunity exists for the right providers.
Right. Well said. Well said.
Okay. Anything else for Connor? Anything else for the good of the order? Okay. Well, as you all know, those of you who have been around with us for a while, that we're at that point where we stop recording